decom, but now it's practical. Could I ask 1, 2, 3, 4 gentlemen on the front row to go and put my chairs back quickly? Legends. Of the most interesting school leaders, I think, in India, give their opinions with an up-and-coming young CEO. So we're going to aim to finish at 2. So, to the stage, the lovely Daksh, CEO of SortMyCollege. One of my favourite people, General Kulkarni, former director of Mayo College, Vinesh Menon, who is CEO of the Ampersand group, and Lina, Ashar, who's founder of Dreamtime Learning. I'd like to invite you to the stage. We're going to go quick fire with this. We'll hopefully give you an opportunity to ask them some questions, but Daksh has got some prepared. So, Miss Lina Ashar, Mr. Vinesh Menon, and the incomparable General Kulkarni. And he tells me this is going to be a Gyan-free zone.
Thank you, Annie. I think now we are heading towards the most awaited session of today. We have got amazing school leaders with us, and काफी सारे students को, I was just having a word with a couple of students. I think सबको बहुत सारे questions होते हैं, you know, they're not able to ask to their school teachers, to their principals. So finally, I have requested speakers to be completely open and answer all the questions. And to be honest, I'm just a student representative today. We were circulating a lot of forms for the last 15 days, and we have received a lot of questions, a lot of student queries. So I'm just a student representative today, to be honest, and I expect very short and crisp answers from your end. So starting with the session, I have first question from Vinesh sir. Sir, quality education is crucial for all students. Yet there is a noticeable disparity between the resources and outcomes in the private schools compared to government schools. What steps can be taken to bridge this gap and enhance the educational experience in government schools?
Hello. Okay, Daksh, thank you so much for that question, and I'm very glad you asked this because when we keep having these conferences which do a lot of talk around private schools, one tends to forget that there's a big number of government schools that exist out there. And Dr. Joseph Emmanuel, who inaugurated the session today, talked about the number of schools that exist there. So out of the 15 lakh odd schools that we have in the country, nearly 12 lakh of them are government schools. And within those 12 lakh government schools, there are close to about 140 to 150 million kids who actually go there to study. There are challenges. India is a vast country, diverse country. These schools are spread across. Some of these schools belong to the state government. Some of them belong to the central government. Some of these schools are part of what is called Ministry of Tribal Affairs. So it really is percolated across multiple departments and ministries. So clearly, the kind of advantage that we kids get in the private schools are somewhere we're quite behind when it comes to the government schools, and clearly there's a need to correct this little gap. Now, what can be done? Difficult to talk about that in this little session. However, I think there are 3 or 4 areas that I think should be immediately looked into. The government, I think, should clearly, one, figure out how to allocate the budgets better for education. Right back in 1964, guys, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but in 1964, there was a budget ask by one of the commissions called the Kothari Commission, where it said that we need to allocate nearly 6% behind education. And today, after so many years, more than 50, 60 years, we're still sitting on hardly about 3%. So there is a little gap there. Second, I think we need to figure out how to drive better efficiencies in these schools. The infrastructure there's a lot to be done in that. There's a lot to be done in the digitization of classrooms. The learning experience has to get better. Students need to feel better. So I think there's a good scope for the public-private partnership to start happening, which means have the government infrastructure work with the private school operators or with private folks who can bring in that efficiency change in the government schools. And thirdly, I think there's a lot of scope that exists in attempting to work on the whole teacher distribution among the government schools. So we have got schools which 3 kids having 50 teachers, and there are schools with 1,000 kids having just 3 teachers. So this is a big anomaly which needs to be corrected. So these are some of the areas that we need to work on to try and drive this change. But one little caution which I want to give to all of us as we move forward is that because of this disproportionate number of government schools vis-a-vis the private schools, I think we need to somewhere as a group, as an ecosystem, focus on this area. Because if the gap between the children in the government schools and the children in the private schools keep widening, then down 14, 15 years when all of us become adults, all of you all become adults, I think, and in this world of social media and news which floats, I think there could be a little bit of a conflict if we don't address this problem now. So yeah, so that's what I would. Yeah.
May I add a couple of things? Yeah. Firstly, how many of you want to become entrepreneurs? Okay, so you already know there's a thing called demand and supply. So there's no dearth of supply of children in India, but there's a dearth of supply of teachers. Okay, so how can you contribute? You all take up social service projects? You do community service in your respective schools? How many of you do community service? Oh, that's a good number. All right, so you can start filling in some of these gaps. Take up these. Do you know that a dialect changes maximum after 50 kilometers in India? So if in your local context, you know the language dialects, translate some of these YouTube videos and all, voice over them, and go and play them out there. Third thing is about involving the local community. You know, there's a famous proverb, African proverb saying, it needs a village to, bring up one child. You got to involve the thing. Near Udaipur, I remember one government school principal, he established, and I went and saw it myself, an outstanding chemistry lab and a physics lab by involving the community. And from that village, which is not a rich village, over 2 years, he raised 8 lakh rupees because they saw the merit in what their own children will gain from it. Now one of the biggest problems is sending out this message. And you are potential brand ambassadors who can do this. And if you're waiting for the government to solve a problem, if you're waiting for the money to solve a problem, you'll have a long wait. You'll become my age before anything happens. So do what you can do. Pick up a small thing. I just spoke in the previous session of the same thing. Pick up a small thing that you can solve and go after it.
I think we're living in very exciting times where you can see any problem as an opportunity, and that's the ask of you guys. If you ask this question every day, how do you bridge this gap? You guys will come up with solutions to demonetize learning and offer it open access to many, many more kids. What I'm doing right now is working on demonetizing learning, but I do want to open up that access, and that access in partnership with corporates can be a very, very exciting thing where the CSR money can actually go towards educating kids on their workshop floors. So I would like you guys to think about this problem as the greatest opportunity you guys have to become entrepreneurs, and think about how you can get around it. Think about, Byju's did it really badly. Think about what Physics Wala is doing and what this is a creator economy. If you've got something to teach, put it out there with engagement, with excitement, become influencers of shifting the way the world thinks in an exciting way.
Thank you so much, ma'am. But considering the growing importance of AI and digital marketing in today's world, why are these subjects not commonly included in the school's current curriculum? Are there any plans to introduce such courses in the near future?
So they're included in my curriculum because I don't believe in being scared or shying away from anything that exists. You have to enter the world of the kids and operate from that world. So when Facebook started gaining momentum, when I'm designing a history lesson, I'd say, okay, Gandhiji lived in the world of Facebook, and if he lives in the world of Facebook, what will his media posts look like? How will he do the Salt March differently and garner attention? So I believe that AI is here to stay. of course, it's here to stay. And how do you then use it to power your learning rather than to use it as a force of fear? It is what it is.
You mentioned that AI and digital curriculum is not, I mean, not common. I think it has started to get included. I think in the 9th and 10th grade, they do have, CBSE has AI and robotics, etc., integrated into the curriculum. In fact, there are different states. All of you need to know that education is a concurrent subject, right? You have states and center. A lot of states are also adopting this into their curriculum. Now, what is very interesting is there is a shift also happening in the government schools. I know that currently, as we talk, about 900 schools in Haryana are trying to build what is called innovation labs, which is a combination of robotic labs, tinkering labs, and astronomy labs. And they're attempting to see how this can become a very important learning outcome-based learning process for the children. So I think it's happening. I think the pace is going to go up pretty fast. And given the fact that today's kids are all digital natives, I don't think we can escape from this.
Part of the problem is every generation thinks they're now faced with a problem which was never seen before. So today's flavor of the month is AI. All right. There was a time when they said that when 2000 will come, none of you were born then, but when 2000 comes, the entire digital system of the world will collapse. And in fact, many Indian software companies and support companies minted money out of that fear that all systems will crash because the computer doesn't cater for that. Nothing happened. When automation came, everyone said all the banks will get wiped out, all the jobs will go. Today, there are more jobs in banking than there were before. So, in the context of AI, I want you to understand, how many of you understand the trinity of the Indian God system, the Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh business, right? So you have to decide whether AI is the Brahma of tomorrow or the Mahesh of tomorrow. Is it going to destroy jobs or is it going to create jobs? And you are the generation who has to find ways that while certain jobs get knocked out, which are the new jobs that you can create? Every time a new technology has come, it has threatened to wipe out a previous generation. It has never happened. But because when it is unfolding, we are unclear, we are very concerned and worried. That is the time when the young lot, every time it is young people who have solved the problems. It has not been an elderly person. Mark Zuckerberg was a kid when he got into this. Bill Gates was a kid when I say he was university level guy when he started his things. All the good things have started when people were young, because their minds are not cluttered with experience and baggage. So please grab this opportunity. Don't allow your generation to go by without making a difference in this world.
General Kulkarni, I have a question for you. Some schools create separate sections for top performing students after the first term exams, especially for those who are appearing for board exams. So what is the reason behind this approach, and how does it affect the motivation and performance of all students?
Well, I'll tell you, you have to decide in your school whether a student is a bad statistic or is a unique entity in or her own right. If you decide that you are a bad statistic, then it's important. Then you say we had 6, out of the 6 city toppers, 4 are from our school, put out a full page ad, so many got 90%. Now please understand the motivation for that is only to drive future admissions. You children are already in that school, you are not benefiting from it. So therefore, on one hand, if you put all the good kids together, then you are bouncing off smart ideas against each other. On the other hand, far from motivating, it can also be a demotivating force. Because I'll tell you, I'll give you a live example. My own son is an IIM Calcutta graduate, right? And he thought he was a hell of a great guy. We were very happy in the family. Wow, IIM Calcutta pahunch gaya. Then when he went there, after 3 months, I asked him when he came for a vacation, how things? He said, Dad, I think I made a mistake. I said, what's wrong with you? People are dying to go to IIM. He said, no, because before I came here, I was the bright spark around. Here, I'm a very mediocre student, where everybody around me is smarter than I am. So it goes both ways. But you have to cast your own journey. It doesn't matter which section you are in. If the schools are doing it, the management is doing it for their interests, not for you. So you carve out your own path. And let me tell you, all the toppers of your school go back in history, have not really done so well, and some of the mediocres and unknown faces have turned out to be the best names that you hear of later.
Lina ma'am, Many students, including the top performers in grade 9 to 12th, are heavily relying on tuition and coaching centers. Does this trend indicate that schools are not delivering effective training?
Absolutely. We all have to move away from the coaching, tutoring culture. And it starts with, I think, having your parents understand what the tutoring and the coaching does to you guys in terms of your stress and everything else. Look, the fact is that going forward, if you guys are really excited by learning, you don't even have to go to school. If you're excited by learning, you can learn whatever you want, wherever you want, and however you want, and it's for free. So it'll take a little while for parents to understand it, but if you see the rise of homeschooling in America, American parents know that no child left behind policy has kind of left all kids behind, and it's really, really painful. We've got depression going up in the world, anxiety going up in the world, at a time when actually the reptilian part of our brain, the fear center, should be getting smaller and smaller and smaller. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And now we've got imaginary threats like, do we have enough likes on Instagram and Facebook? Because we've been taught from a very young age by the education system, by society, and by our parents that everything that externally comes to us, that grade, that mark sheet, that's our validation of who we are. So what I want you guys to understand is, regardless of all of this, your validation comes from yourself. If you master your mind, your validation comes from yourself. Yeah, and I'm telling you, as a kid who grew up in Australia, I've had multiple leg surgeries and I walk straight, but I didn't walk straight. I wasn't popular. I was the outsider. Mind over anything else. And that's what I'd like to, for all of you to take away, that if your mind is powerful, you can be whoever you want.
Nisa, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, she made a comment that schools don't deliver, hence coaching classes are coming. That's not entirely the only reason. I think there's a lot of pressure that is starting to build among the student fraternity and the parents. And I think naturally when you all start getting into, and that's exactly what General Sir was also talking about, right? That and she was talking about it, that when mark sheets start becoming your benchmark, then obviously there's a lot of pressure that's being put on the students to try and do whatever required to get into that space. And that means even post-school additional learning. And that's how the coaching center, what used to be called as a private tuition, has now become a very nice corporatized coaching center. So that is what is really happening. And even within the country, if you really break up, the southern side of the country has got far more emphasis and intensity to try and drive. In fact, in the south, I believe parents want the schools to start teaching kids for nearly about 8 to 10 hours because they feel that that's the way that those guys will, the kids will move forward. That may not be the case as much in north. But frankly, I tend to agree with her, except for the fact that it's not a generic thing that schools don't deliver. But there is a lot of pressure that is being put, which has started to led to the rise of this whole thing. You can be the adjudicator and help.
No, but one interesting phenomenon I've noticed is that sometimes children and their parents are not really keen to go for this tuition, but there is social pressure of the peers. Oh, so-and-so's kid is going to this tuition class, so-and-so's kid is then. He's taken a drop and gone to Kota. As if you go to Kota, you'll automatically hit some IIT or a medical college. Most of them don't, right? So, and the kids who are going to get into IIT or medical college, most of them would have got through from wherever they came, okay? And in Kota, the question that you said, or when I say Kota, it's representative of coaching places, they do very much of this. At the beginning, they'll have a test and they'll find 20 bright guys and put them with the best teacher or the best professor. And all the others are only paying up money and not going to go anywhere. So, in time to come, if the entire testing system and assessment system through the school years changes, the relevance of coaching centers will go down. Till that doesn't happen, and the ticket to entry into the prestigious universities and colleges remains an entrance exam powered by these coaching centers, they will retain popularity. There is no escape from that.
But sir, as we look towards the future, how do you envision the landscape of schools evolving over the next decades in terms of technology, teaching methods, and student engagement?
Yeah, first and foremost, technology is already here. It's been here for long. In which year, any of you know, did Uber start as a company? Anybody? Any guess? Uber. How beta? You raised your hand, Polo. 2008, okay. Airbnb. You heard of Airbnb? Oyo Rooms, Ola, yeah. Okay. Which was the year YouTube launched? Louder. Okay, it was 2005, but you're very all close with it. Around that time, what happened? Everything of technology got integrated, and that's why everything came onto this, and it's called a smartphone. All right. All the functions got integrated. So Airbnb doesn't have to have any physical product. Uber didn't have a physical product. All they provided was a connection between somebody who had the equipment and another guy who wanted to travel and who had the capacity to pay. All right. So what was happening? The world changed and we didn't change. So in most schools, and if you recall, go back to your pre-pandemic years, did your schools spend a lot of effort on not allowing you to bring devices into school? School policies were like that. No bringing phones, no use of tabs, laptops, etc. And come COVID and the world changed. It flipped on its head. But technology was already there. There are some schools, progressive schools in India, who are already using this technology. And all their lesson plans and all had been digitized. Everything had happened. So the school have changed. Then everybody started suddenly talking about experiential learning, which means you get out of the classroom. So if your technology can be used wherever you are, if the best learning is outside the classroom, and I'm sure any student who gets out of the classroom is more engaged than you are in the classroom, there are studies to show that the average brain response is almost like a dead patient in classrooms. But, so if you're going to have more fun outside the classroom, if the technology can be taken wherever you are, at home, at bed, you can bring it here, you can be traveling and use it. So the landscape of schools is going to change. So the shape of a traditional classroom has to change. And I don't see that change happening in most schools. And therefore, they say you must have very small classroom sizes to give good learning. Yes, that was true at a certain point in time. Today, again, research shows that you can, because people can learn on their own at different paces by different means, you can have as many as 40 kids working together. And therefore, working together to develop the skill which is most important in this world is complex problem solving. I said it in my previous session also, can only happen if you work in a team. So today, is Elon Musk willing to hire you even if you are not having an engineering degree? Are you aware of this? Apple and all are willing to hire you even if you don't have an engineering degree, though they're all software products. Because they want to bring a range of skills. Why did Steve Jobs, Apple, become so popular? Because he spent a lot of time on designing, do you know these fancy fonts that you got, drag and drop and all, was not there in the initial machines. Okay, so they changed the world, it happened. So your schools and classrooms of your younger siblings and the next generation have to change. And therefore, going to a classroom is like going to the library in our times, because encyclopedia wahan milta tha. So you go there because your team is there, you can work with them there. You can even collaborate online with all these Zoom and other devices that we have. So the world is changing. What shape it will take exactly will differ from your means at your disposal. But this traditional classroom in which you sat in rows and columns, which you took a photograph on top, looked like you're marching on Rashtrapati Bhavan, but in sitting position on Rajpath, that has to change. That world is over.
I'll just add a couple of points here. One, look, like he said, technology is here to stay, but it's very important to know that technology really would become, there's a lot of debate about technology replacing teachers and whether teachers will now have instead of a teacher, would you have a robot in your classroom? I don't think that's going to happen. I think technology will be a very important tool to be used by the teachers, and there is this famous saying that in the future years, all your teachers will be far, far more tech savvy than the teachers of yesteryears. And teachers who don't adapt to technology probably will be replaced by those who would, right? So that's point number one. Point number two is knowledge is no longer going to be, there was a time when school was considered as an embodiment of knowledge. But today, knowledge is available everywhere. So the children of today and tomorrow are going to be really, I won't say taught, but they have to be initiated into how to use this knowledge. How do you apply the knowledge, right? Because knowledge is there everywhere. So how do you use that? How do you convince people? How do you get convinced? That's the kind of traits that one needs to work on. And the slight caution that I want everyone to keep in mind is the ill effects of this overburdened technology that's hitting all of us, right? Cyberbullying, the whole mind wellness issues, the deep fake which is floating around. I mean, tomorrow, frankly, the four of us could be sitting here and we need not even be here. It'll be our holograms. And the hologram could just say something that she doesn't believe in. Her hologram could be saying something that is not really your mind. So these things could happen in the decade to come, and we need to be very mindful of these areas. So my suggestion and my only recommendation is that adapt technology, go for it. It's not going anywhere. AI is here to stay. But I think be aware, start building on other traits of yours, work on your communication skills, work on adaptability, work on areas like empathy, work on areas like leadership skills. These are all very, very important to attempt to try and be aware and to be able to move with the changing times that General Kulkarni was talking about.
One additional point for all you kids to consider. There's the process of learning which hasn't changed, and with the need in this innovation world, even more important. There are 3 steps. First, you have to learn. Then you must be able to apply what you have learned. And third, you must challenge what you have learned. Otherwise, there'll be no progress. And in the challenging of what you have applied and what you learned earlier, lie the seeds of innovation and differentiation for the future.
I must say this, I've been noticing some kids leaving. So one change that is going to happen in the future is that kids are going to want lesson plans in chota packets. Okay, I don't see a day when a child would like to sit in a classroom and listen to a teacher for 1 hour. I think those days are slowly going behind. So the ability to try and soak in stuff faster, and therefore the responsibility for the teachers to try and make lesson plans interesting and more exciting for the children is going to go up.
I see an exciting future in which we'll have hybrid schools. I don't like the fact that you kids spend so much time on a school bus, and then you go to school, and then you go to tuitions, and then you go to this class and that class and the other class. It is the cause of rising depression more than it's the screens. It's the fact that we've taken away your childhood. We've taken away your ability to engage in self-directed play. Even your play is directed by us. So I see an exciting future in which you can go to school Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and have 3 days off to create your own learning journeys, because with technology we'll be able to accelerate learning and we'll be able to enhance it. The one thing I'd like to leave you with, human-only skills will make a big comeback. The things that we put in the back burner, like empathy, kindness, all those things, those are going to be at the forefront. If the forefront is going to be self-mastery, not content mastery. So keep that in mind, that how do you keep on evolving and developing who you are as a human being and being better today than you were yesterday and better tomorrow than you are today.
Thank you, ma'am. Speakers, we have planned a very quick rapid fire round with you all, and we expect very honest answers, to be honest. So starting with Lina, ma'am. Just like Sanjay Dutt is called Sanju Baba, Shah Rukh Khan is known as Badshah. Do you have any unique or amusing nicknames that you have been called by in your childhood?
No, they call me Teach now, and my friends call me Teach, but and then some of them call me Peach, but no, I had no nicknames in school.
Vinesh, sir?
Okay, I think I was called Winnie, because Winnie Mandela, Nelson Mandela's wife, was pretty famous those days, and I think they kind of made me into Winnie. That's what I recollect.
Right.
In my school, all my friends were lazy, so they broke Kulkarni down to Kul and left it there.
Sir, General sir, have you ever bunked school or classes to do something fun? Have you ever bunked school or classes to do something fun?
Yeah, very frequently. Very frequently.
It's allowed, students, it's allowed.
Yeah, seriously. But if you're bunking school, go and do something which excites you. Don't just bunk school for the heck of bunking school. Or for the challenge. It's not that truth or dare type of thing. You understand? Bunk school with a purpose. So in our time, if there was a, now you can see movie every day, everywhere. In our time, we had to go to a theater. So bunking school to see the latest great movie, definitely, well worth it.
Vinesh, sir?
Of course I bunked school. Why did I bunk school? I don't think I'll talk in this audience today. I'll say that one-to-one later.
Right.
But I bunked school. But what is interesting is during COVID, I noticed something which is very interesting. So COVID obviously had these online classes, right? And everything was being taught online. So I had this nephew of mine who decided to bunk school online. How did he do that? So when the teacher was teaching, he kept listening and all that, and then he just froze. Okay, he just did nothing. And it's almost like a bunk, right? I mean, he almost showed that the buffering and the screen is not. What he forgot was that the fan was running. Okay? So when you bunk intelligently. Ensure that you don't have the fan running when you're trying to freeze on the screen. But yeah, but I think these are all normal childhood stuff. And I think he made a very important point. Important that you're aware of what you're really doing with your time. Because that time that you spend on, for whatever reason, if you decide to do something else instead of being in class, it's not going to come back. And therefore, you might as well make it really work in the right direction for you.
Lina, ma'am?
I went to school in Australia. No, I didn't bunk school.
Never bunked school?
Never bunked school. It was, school was fun. It was, yeah, never bunked school.
Ma'am, what's the one thing you did it in school and that you still laugh about with your friends today? Maybe a experience, maybe you...
I think when I went from India to Australia as a kid, I was very, very innocent, naive to the ways of, yeah, I think when I saw two people kissing, I started crying. When I saw someone smoking, I started crying. It was all very intense for me. I laugh about it today. Yeah.
Right. Vinesh, sir?
You should have prepared us for this. Okay, so... He's asking what did you ask? What is the one thing that you're laughing about, right? Yeah. I think there are two things which I can recollect immediately. One is my first ever speech that I gave, and it was a speech on India. And instead of saying India is one of the biggest countries of the world, I think I said India is one of the biggest countries of Africa, and I didn't realize it. And everybody was laughing, and I was wondering, and for a second I thought they were all very impressed with what I was talking, because I didn't know that I'd made a faux pas, you know. So I was very happy with the laughs, and I thought, wow, man, I'm quite popular. Later they told me that I made a big mess up, so that's one. The second thing I think I would remember very fondly is just like all of us, I'm sure, I had a school crush, okay, and this crush's name was, her name was Rakhi, R-A-K-H-E-E, right? And you know, when you leave school, you have this little book, the what do you call that? I forgot, the playbook or whatever, the scrapbook. So the maximum number of, the statement that got me most laughing was, within quotes, when Rakhi ties a Rakhi and says, "You're my brother, poor little Vinesh will remain sad forever." And I still think about that and laugh.
General Kulkarni, I'm very excited for your answer.
I have to ask a question. I missed your question, sorry.
What's the one thing you did in school that you still laugh about today? I'm very excited for your answer, to be honest.
Yeah, you know, I was that time, upcoming cricketer and all that. And I thought if I took up, apart from batting, wicket keeping, then I'd get a chance to be on the field all the time. All right, I wasn't such a great wicket keeper. So the common joke amongst my friends was, better go and see the beginning of the innings, because even if you come after the first over, he would already have dropped a catch at the back. So that was my biggest thrill of my life. If one over passed without me dropping the catch, from my mind, I'd already won the match. The other thing which you said about going on stage, and in my job as the director of my school, I used to be on stage almost every day and speaking with never a sheet of paper in my hand. But when I was in school, even if you dragged me on stage with a script and asked me to read, I would have never been able to do it. And I admire the kids of today who are so confident when they come out and speak. So I think these are memories which one can never forget.
Last question of the rapid fire round. What's the one thing that you wish you could have told your younger self during the school days?
Younger?
Younger self during the school days. You wish you could have done that and you never did it.
Okay, can I answer last?
I wish I told my younger self that you'll be okay.
To be okay.
That I wish I could, if I could go back and tell my younger self who had a lot of anxiety about not being popular, etc., and I could just hug her and say, you'll be okay.
You'll be okay.
I spent all my time on the sports field. For me, school used to start at 2 p.m. after lunch. But I used to only play sports. When I want to now go back in life, I wish I had learned music in a serious way. I mean, in our school it was compulsory. But I wish I had learned music because that's something that stays with you all your life. You don't need an audience. You just need yourself. And it can give you great contentment and happiness. It is something I regret till today.
How many of you have seen the movie Three Idiots? All of you have seen it? So there is a dialogue in that which... Okay, so there's a dialogue in that which where Amir Khan says, all is well, right? All is well. So I think if I were to go back into my childhood and look at myself, I think I would have wanted to say that more often, because there are many times in your childhood when you feel lost, when you feel diffident, when you feel that things are not going right, when you feel mocked by others, when you feel bullied. And I think that's a time when probably those days it scared you. But if I were to go back in time and look at where, in a way, the journey has been fairly good. We've all been blessed. And I think to prevent that little fear, I would have wanted to tell myself all is well.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. I think a lot of questions have been cleared. A lot of questions have been already cleared. And the most important of all, I think a lot of questions students ask me that, please ask the bunk question. So you can bunk school, to be honest, but just for something productive, right? Just don't bunk it for a sake. Try doing something more productive, and then it's okay bunking, I suppose, right? Thank you so much, everyone. And just a second. Can we have a huge round of applause for all our speakers?
Annie?
Felicitate our guests. Too late. Thank you so much to our speakers. Now, well done, guys. We've finished on time at 2 o'clock, which means you're entitled to some lunch. And I hear from the ScooNews people there's maybe some pizza. But something I just want to echo from our panel, we started the morning about emotional resilience, and actually, you've been given some really good advice on emotional resilience. And to quote whoever it was from our panel, I think it was Vinesh, it'll be okay. Life will work out. It will be okay. So now, if you can wait, we'll get our colleagues from ScooNews that will escort you out to have some lunch, and we'll see you in 30 minutes. Thanks ever so much, guys. Back in 30 minutes. Thank you.